This is a public service announcement.
Welcome to the Chronic Podcast.
Hello everyone.
Hola.
They don't take this thing too serious.
Y'all are in your phones like looking and searching and stuff.
The experience.
Mm-hmm.
I'm reading news.
Is it good news or bad news?
Times we come together instead of divide.
Good news. You know what I'm reading? How to celebrate today.
How to celebrate today?
Is all we have. You
I feel like that's my everyday.
use it wisely.
What? You're reading how to celebrate today? What does that mean?
That's what it became. I was just doing the research and that's what comes.
Smoke weed, how to celebrate.
No, smoke weed every day. That's how we celebrate. It's a great way to celebrate. Welcome.
It is.
Okay, I'm
y'all
not
doing?
high, but I feel like my microphone's moving. It's not. Okay. And I'm not even high.
It might be moving.
I feel like it's slowly going down again.
It may be. You never know. So, welcome. What are we talking about? Do we have any news first before we get going on this, I don't know, Monday here in Tennessee where the weather changed from 70s to 30s and rain and tornadoes and I don't know, whatever stuff they're spraying in the sky to affect all of that. Do we have any good news?
I wish they would spray some weed.
Yeah, that'd be fabulous.
Today is
No, we-
National Corn Dog Day.
National Corn Dog Day.
Corn dog
Everybody
day.
go out and get a corn dog today.
Yes.
That's most you need to eat a corn dog.
I don't think I've had a corn dog since I was a child. Shit.
Yeah. I, don't
I
think
always have a bite of it and that's enough.
Yeah.
That's enough. Yeah, because it's nothing good. There's really nothing good about a corn dog, honestly. If you think about whatever a corn dog is, it's just not so good.
I know.
Happy National Corn Dog Day, guys.
Yes,
Have your
happy
corn dog.
National
Don't want
Corn
them, go
Dog
for
Day.
it.
There you go.
Not for me.
Put some herb on top of it.
Some news in Tennessee I know is the new legislation they're starting to talk about again.
Oh, the
Again.
pot for potholes. Yeah. Yeah. The medical legislation too. There's a few different ones. I think there's like 2 or 3 bills that people have introduced.
Okay.
So yeah, we need to go through. But we're looking at pot for potholes today. But I heard you were saying something earlier. The other news that why is Tennessee so backwards?
Oh, I said that.
So tell me what other news.
Alabama is about to open up some medical dispensaries in Georgia.
Yeah.
What did I say about Georgia? Something else about medicinal dispensaries. Everyone has medicinal dispensaries except for Tennessee, it feels like.
Everywhere around Tennessee except for Tennessee, and all our politicians in Tennessee seem to think that it's going to be banned and back to what it was.
But
in
you
like
know
the
what is
1980s.
interesting though? The other day in Capitol Hill when we were talking about this with lawmakers,
Yeah,
they
we're
all telling us that 80% of Tennesseans, in some sort, they are consuming cannabis. This is based on what they told us.
Yeah, this is right out of their mouth.
So
Are these the
just
people
don't
that are
underst-
talking about the pot for potholes bill?
Right.
Yeah, first
So
of all,
they're the ones who have enacted this legislation?
yeah. Can I preface something real quick? I have to apologize. So all of the frustration that I feel is because of what we just opened up here. The fact that it doesn't make any sense, and there's zero sense to the nature of bills and law, and we go sit down and talk to these people, and one person's against this. But the facts of the matter are, our politicians, 80% of the voting bloc, not collegiate, not special interest groups, not Fox News poll, not whatever, 80% of the voting bloc in the state of Tennessee is for cannabis legalization. So that means 80% of every one of the legislators' constituency base is for cannabis legalization, which means that then the politicians should be doing the will of the people and should have legalized cannabis in some fashion or another months or years ago, whenever it is, but we're at 80%. We're not even at like 51 or 52. We're at 80% of the voting bloc.
But let me ask
And
this: how do we know that? Because I don't
Because
think
the
I've-
politician said that directly out of his
Right,
own
but
mouth,
how do
right
they
to
know?
our
Because
face.
I don't think I, as a constituent, I mean, we all know that I'm for
Been polled.
legalization of marijuana, but I don't think I've ever been polled on that as a constituent to be part of that 80%.
So yes, you haven't been polled, but they do polls all the time, and they have constituency base that are just random sections.
Right, but I don't trust those because I feel like if you ask people who have been polled on
That's
anything,
why you
people are
can
like, "I've
trust
never
on
been
polls."
polled."
I get, yeah.
So I
I've
don't
never been
know.
polled either, and I'm not sure either. But if that is the statement from the legislators' mouths, if that is the fact pattern that is there, then the next fact pattern for me is if 80% of the people, if I was to run for office and go be up in office and 80% of my constituency base was for something, then I should represent the majority of my constituency and then apply that in the lawmaking.
But are the legislators that are against it, are they claiming that 80% of their constituents are for the legalization of marijuana? Because my guess would be if you ask
course
them,
not.
they would not say that that is the case. I think it's the people
No,
that are
no,
trying
no.
to pass this bill that use that statistic.
Okay, so
for them.
I've had direct conversations with Jack Johnson, straight across the table, face to face, and I have made this exact statement. In my opinion, it wasn't 80%. It was more like 50, 60, maybe 70% of the population, but at least about 60% of our population, based on what I know, is for cannabis legalization. Not against it, would be okay with if you put it on a ballot and put it in front of the public.
Great, but what does Jack Johnson say to that? Did he agree with that statement or no?
Jack Johnson didn't disagree with it. He said, I don't think so. I think there's probably a lot of people that are not okay with it. And I said, well,
I
Jack,
would agree with that. There are a lot of people that are not okay with it. So that's why I can't agree with the legislators saying for sure it's 80%. I mean, I like it if it were 80%. I just don't know that I trust that.
I'm not arguing with you, and I don't want to argue. We have to have right fact pattern. And if
We need to let the people decide.
Bingo.
That would be the way we know if it's 80% or not.
Well, no, we do know, and here's how I know, and here's how I can totally explain it, why it is actually that and factually that. Because if it wasn't 80%, then there wouldn't be all of the gas stations and bars and liquor stores and liquor distributors and all of the other people and cigarette shops, vape shops, and these guys and every other guys and blah, 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 on down the line, opening up and having cannabis everywhere in the state of Tennessee.
Right.
If it weren't 80%, and if it weren't 80%, then the decline of the alcohol sales in the state of Tennessee wouldn't be what it is and people shifting over to the cannabis style drinks if it weren't 80%. The 80% is already there, and the people are using cannabis, and they are continuing to use cannabis. The problem is we are beholden to that 20%. Whether they want to say it or not say it, that 20% with the big fat deep pockets is creating legislation.
Well, let's see what this legislation is saying that they want to try to pass now that they're trying to agree with the 80%. So let's see what they're trying to pass, and they're even presenting, because sometimes bills that we think are in our favor can still also not be the best. So I would be interested to see exactly what it says. I've got key points, but you've got the actual bill there.
Yeah. First off, in doing that, Trump himself actually said the first order of business for the government is to protect its people, to take care of its people. We are a government of, for, and by the people. So this particular thing that was introduced, See, that's where I was apologizing earlier for all of the anxiety and stress. It's because we don't live in a world any longer where you can write down something that actually makes sense and is truth, and then is an agreeable truth. It is how your truth, you see it from your perspective, your point of view, but that doesn't work in the world that we're in. There has to be a foundation of truth somewhere. And I'm hoping that as we read this, there's some good, decent things of truth in here. So
What's in there?
let's begin. So we got the bill in hand, House Bill, what is this? 2479, Senate Bill 2486 by Parkinson and Bowling, respectively. First section of it, this is the Freedom to Farm Act, and it gives some definitions in here about what the adult means and cultivate means and flower means and flowering and immature plant and the means the parts of the cannabis plant. So it gives some definition on the front end of it, and it kind of goes through.
I was going to say, speaking of cultivating, because I've got some key points in there. It
Let's
says
go through the points.
that an individual can grow up to 12 plants at their residence if this is passed, which that's quite a few of plants.
12 plants?
In a secure, non-visible place. So at home, you'd be able to grow up to 12 plants.
In your bathroom or your basement.
Yeah, I was going to say outside, if you have like a private backyard or a greenhouse, it has to be secure, non-visible. I guess secure greenhouse if it locks. There'd probably some sort of rules about that.
The details get much more detailed, I'm sure.
They do. And then 21 and up. I think you had said that.
Yeah, 21 and up is a big thing. I mean, I get it, but there's some controversy on 21 and up and how cannabis works and the mentality of that. And we'll probably get into that later.
Well, I think a lot of times medicinally, like I know in the state of California, it's 21 and up, but to get a recreational, but to get a med card, as long as you have parents.
See, there should be something in that bill then that offers that. So 21 and up
but
for
this is recreational. This bill is not addressing medical, is it? This bill is only addressing recreational.
Well, see, there's a bit of convolution in my head about that because when we were up on the hill talking to these folks, there was a medical and recreational kind of world that were being presented. What I get from Jack every time I talk to him is there's not a chance in hell will freeze over a whole lot sooner than
before
recreational marijuana will be in the state of Tennessee.
And that's what this bill is. For potholes is a rec bill.
Yeah. So if we'll continue reading it. If pot for potholes is a rec bill that opens up the recreational world to marijuana, and Jack tells me that his small group of people, there's no way in hell that it's going to ever be recreational in the state of Tennessee, then this is a futile effort because it'll go into these committee process and through their little regulatory things and their little thing. And instead of, like we were just discussing, the 80% who elected those people into office are not going to be listened to because I guarantee you that 80% of our population would be totally okay with this.
Well, again, that is a futile effort because this exact same bill was presented
2 years
last
ago.
year or the year before and it failed.
Yeah, because the lobby paid off politicians to vote against something that the majority of the constituency base has accepted.
So a few other key points in this is if it were to pass 21 and up, you can legally possess up to 60 grams, which is a little over 2 ounces. So
That's a lot.
Bad. I mean,
that's a lot.
Okay, so let's define possess. If you want to have 2 ounces of flower in your house, okay, and you want to be able to smoke it or you want to go enjoy yourself or whatever. I mean, there was a point in time where I was smoking about an ounce of flower a week. Now, if the law had stated that, well, you can only have half an ounce or you can only have this much of an ounce in your possession, then that would put somebody like me in a place of being in trouble because now they're defining this small, tiny little amount as being illegal and less than that is not illegal. Well, I get it when you're selling stuff illegally and the state wants to get their portion of sales tax. You need to do it right. So you wouldn't have a guy with 4 pounds in his backpack running around, handing out stuff. They don't want that. But if I want to have 2 ounces in my bag or I want to go downtown.
Yeah, but they've got to have some cutoff. They've got to have some point where they put the cutoff.
That's where they put, they put the cutoff at 2 ounces because, I mean, reasonably, I could take 2 ounces to a party and have a bunch of buddies.
I mean, 2 ounces it's a lot, but it's also kind of low because if you think a dealer's not gonna only
dealers run in town,
right? That's why they are trying to get rid of dealers.
They're trying to get rid of the street dealers.
To no dealer or just personal consumption. That's a lot,
right? For personal consumption, that is a lot. So, because if you're even if you're smoking an ounce a week,
right? It's still a lot.
Yeah, you can have 2 ounces at a time. Well, you got 2 weeks worth at a time. You're good.
Yeah. Willie's probably got more in his bus all the time too.
I mean,
and you don't want a guy like Willie to get in trouble.
I know this bill will have the Department of Agriculture taking back over too.
To see, and I like that, and they should. Or actually, like some other states, I think in New Jersey, or I'm sure there are a couple of them, there is a division. The New Jersey, I'm pretty sure it's New Jersey, has a division for cannabis, like its own division, and it should here in the state of Tennessee. There should be a separate state organization that is over the cannabis people, and the people who are in the business should be a part of that regulatory board to set policy. Because I'm going to tell you something. Her and I went down to the Capitol, sat there in a policy board with the politicians and attorneys. I could have got more information in a high school classroom on marijuana than I got in that policy. It was ridiculous. The ineptness, the lack of understanding, the lack of education, the total lack of care. And if that's the case, you need a board of people who understand this and regulate it, because if you give it to people who don't know it and don't understand it and don't care about it, it's going to get screwed up faster than even getting started. It's frustrating.
I agree. I feel like our podcast here is more informative.
I mean,
in
it just
city
takes
policy,
it just takes people taking the time to do the work and digging deep on different matters, and it's not important to them. So
It's just they don't even have the right people on board at all.
no,
because it's not important to them
well,
at the end of the day.
it's important to people like us, and it's important to a lot of business owners here in Tennessee. It's
Well, it's
important.
important to a lot of patients who like use it for
Yes.
medicinal purposes.
Yes.
As a nurse, like that's the most
Yeah.
frustrating thing for me as we go backwards in the state of Tennessee. You have so many people that have discovered a more natural way of relieving pain, relieving any type of nausea, relieving all kinds of symptoms, sleep issues, and we're going to take that away from them.
See,
now.
we were told by a couple of senators and a couple of representatives that if there were 20 really important things in the state of Tennessee, the top 20 things on the list of things to do, marijuana would be like number 40. However, what's very interesting is that even though marijuana is number 40, it should be a very simple thing to fix. The population wants it. It doesn't kill people. There are uses for it. And there's an income stream to be made off of it if you do it right. If you do it right. If they don't do it right, then the income stream gets screwed up. The population doesn't get served properly. And the legislation is totally whacked out, and you'll drive the market right back to the black. And it's going to be on the street again.
Or other states now because it's legal in so many
Exactly.
other states. So the income stream, speaking of what the bill talks about pot for potholes, I know they want to put a 15% tax on
which
it.
is insane. Because if you put a 15%...
I'm okay with that.
Well,
like, I don't think
I know-
make it legal, it's okay.
I know you are. I understand
But
that
isn't
you're...
it like that now? 16%.
No. So right now, there's a 9.75% sales tax. That's flat across the board.
It's Tennessee sales tax.
Okay, I get that. And there are certain other taxes you put on it. But if you overtax it, overburden it, then the public, again, because it's too expensive, are going to go back to the street. Right now, here's what I currently have in our shop. I have customers coming in complaining that the flour or the whatever product we sell is far more expensive than what they can get in Michigan, Colorado, or some other legal states because production or taxes. And California, we have lots of Californians moving here going, great, this is fantastic. The sales tax is down, but I can still buy weed for a lot less.
I think California sales tax is actually a little lower than ours.
When it comes to cannabis, it's overtaxed.
I don't know what the can is. I'm just talking about regular sales tax.
I just read something that they just hiked the taxes in Michigan because Michigan actually had one of the best
On cannabis?
yeah, they just hiked it and it destroyed the industry. If you get to a spot where the business owner is telling the customer you have to pay a 9.75% sales tax and then a 15% cannabis tax on top of that, you're talking a huge amount
You
of
are,
money.
and I think big
especially
taxes
when
like
people
that are
spend-
always going to cause customers to look somewhere else.
Right.
However, like we talked about last week, I think a lot of the customers that are newer to this industry, newer to this market, are not comfortable going to the black market, don't even know where to begin.
You're
and
right.
so they're going to bitch about the tax. Maybe they won't buy as much. Maybe they start budgeting and rationing more. But I think a large majority of people will continue to come into a legal dispensary for convenience, for safety, for multiple different reasons. Yes, you'll always have people searching alternatives when taxes go high for any type of commodity, I think.
Well, then, as a smart government, you should get the taxes in a right level, not an overburdensome level, so you don't have the public doing that. And then you can try to figure out how to produce enough of the product so that the costs are down and you can give it to the public at the right cost. Because if you overburden it and overcharge it, overtax it, and you make it too expensive, it's going to turn into the market that it is in California. And a lot of people in California, the first ones in California who are established with giant amounts of money are doing okay because they built upon that system. But anybody new coming in can't compete because they don't have the ability to keep up with that kind of...
Well, what does this it's 15%. And is it only to roads? Did the
I didn't read through the whole thing yet.
So 15%.
So I need to read through this.
50%. I think
top
it's
of,
Yeah,
50% is on
15%
top. That's
top.
just that. So you're always going to have a sales tax. So the same with alcohol. You have the alcohol, you have the state sales tax you have to pay, and then you have to pay an alcohol sales tax on top.
Right.
So they're proposing, which I would like to see what the Tennessee alcohol tax is. But they're proposing 15% on top. But of that 15% sales tax, they want 75% of it to go to state roads, which is huge.
Fine. I mean, they should. The
And I
roads are
think
shit.
I mean, it would be amazing to help our roads, I think. And right now, they don't have that for the roads, and people are driving on the roads to go to states around us to get legal.
Right.
I mean, why not use the people in your states? They're already going other places to buy it. Why not use it here? And I know you don't agree with the 15% tax, but if it's, you might still have people going to Illinois if the tax is less, but let's look that up.
No, I would. Here's what I'd like to do. If I got elected into office, I'd like to find out what the budget is and where all the money's going, because the 9.75% sales tax is a pretty good amount of money coming into the state. What are they doing with it? Where is it going? Whose pockets is it going to? How much is, over budgeted? Because again, sitting in these offices, here's what I was told.
Well, that's all. You can all see all that.
Well, yeah, maybe I have to take a look at it then and see what's going on. But here's what I was told by, again, several of the officials in the offices there, that the state is getting close to being insolvent. There's a huge deficit, that money is missing in places, and things are collapsing because they're spending it in the wrong places. Well, I mean, I don't see them really fixing a lot of roads right. I don't see them putting a lot of money into right things. I don't see my community getting better. In fact, in the last 10 years, it's gotten worse. For what reasons? I don't know. But I know it isn't the cannabis business. Maybe it's all the alcohol and tobacco and all the other garbage that's being let loose everywhere. I mean, look at downtown Nashville. Downtown Nashville 10 years ago was a great place to go. It was fun. Yeah, there were bars there, but now the scene is so muddled with piss and sweat that I don't even want to go downtown anymore.
Yeah, but plenty of people do. Okay, look, I just looked. The liquor.
They'd
by
have a
the
lot more
drink
fun if there
tax-
was some weed down there.
Liquor by the drink tax is 15% as well, which I knew it was really high because when I opened the wine bar, I remember being crazy. Just
liquor by the drink is 15?
Yeah, it's 15. It's taxed at 15%. And so, as a former wine bar owner, it's passed on to the customer. And so let's look at it this way. To your argument, if people aren't going to do it, they're going to go black market. So liquor by the drink in an establishment is taxed at 15%, but not at the liquor store. So that's why when you get a glass of wine, you pay for one glass, which you pay for a whole bottle at the liquor store. Now, you have some people that are like, I would never drink at a restaurant. I can get the whole bottle. Why would I do that? But you still have plenty of people going to the restaurants, ordering drinks by the glass, not even blinking that they're paying $25 for one glass of something, because they're just paying, most of it is tax.
No, they're blinking, and I hear it all the time. They come in here and bitch and
I mean,
gripe
they're
about
blinking,
it. Yeah.
but go to any restaurant, go to the wine bar I used to own. It's still packed with full of people spending their money, and 15% of it is going to tax.
Can I ask a really dumb question then? So if they're paying 15% tax on all of this liquor, all of this glasses of wine and beers and stuff in downtown, and it's a giant, that's exactly what it is. It's happening and packed. What are you doing with the 15%? Where's it going?
Let's see what they use.
I mean,
are
they using it for potholes? Or are they putting it into the roads? How about the school systems? Wait a minute. Where's it going? I'd like to really know where all of the money, the 15% on top of all the alcohol sales, is going. Whose pockets is it going?
I'll tell you. Hold on, I'm looking.
Yeah, I'd like to know.
Because all of that is public record. Just like
Really?
the taxes have to have purposes of what they're being used for. Like the lottery, when they finally allowed the lottery in the state of Tennessee, the taxes from that are to pay for secondary education. So kids who
and why
graduate.
is secondary education so crappy?
Okay,
in
so
the state?
the kids who graduate from any Tennessee state high school, and there's things they have to do. They have to complete this list of different things. By the end of their senior year, they're able to go to a community college in the state of Tennessee for completely free. So you can get your associate's degree for completely free by the state of Tennessee if you're a Tennessee state resident and graduated from a Tennessee state high school. And that's all funded by the lottery taxes. So taxes are a pain in the ass, but there's a purpose for them. It's not just
that
free
sort of
money
makes
for the
sense.
government.
That sort of makes sense, but I would really like to know how much that really equates to, and if that actually is the amount of money that's being put in is actually being put out in the right areas, and the balance sheets are correct.
Well, yeah,
I'm not very good at math, but
that's why at the end of the
doesn't seem like they're
day,
doing a
there's
good job of
always you got to look at our budgets being balanced, and how many states, like what is it? The Pentagon hasn't had a balanced budget in how many fucking years? Like, there's purposes
billions and
for
billions
these
of dollars
taxes,
are just flying
and
out.
they're supposed to be. And listen, if anybody wants my help, I'm a great fucking keep money straight, know where it's going. I can make a dollar stretch so far. So the fact that governments can't balance budgets
is beyond
makes my mind crazy. But here it says the alcohol tax revenue in Tennessee is primarily used for the state general fund, which is it supports public services, education, and the administration of alcoholic beverage enforcement.
Okay.
So, there is a purpose for it. Now, do we see the breakdown? I don't know. Is that public knowledge to be able to sit there and see the breakdown of where every dime goes?
See that the statement of that, and again, like I apologized earlier, I'm not frustrated. It just blows my mind. The statement of is primarily used for the state general fund. Now those two
82. It's because it tells you then how much of that 82.5%, and then it goes on to say 17.5% of these taxes.
Well, the place
are split between state education funds and local government.
You just listening today?
I'm enjoying. Keep going.
So
informative.
82.5% goes in the general fund, and the general fund. Well, I'm sure that there's some accounting, but see, what they did is they put blanket weird umbrella terms over these places so that they can kind of spend the money however they want and say, well, we put it in the general fund, and it went into the miscellaneous account, and that miscellaneous went into the, like, we're going to feed the kids thing. But then here's what's gone on in the states like, I don't know.
Minnesota.
There you go. Thank you. Minnesota, where they collected a whole bunch of taxes and put it in the state general fund, and then about $9 billion decided to go in suitcases over to Somalia. Now, I'd like to know, instead of you collect 15% on all of the alcoholic drinks here in the state of Tennessee, all of the single serve alcohol drinks, and there are thousands upon thousands of bars out there. You need to tell me as a constituent where all of these millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars going. Not just 82.5% of it's going to go into the general fund, and then from the general fund, we got a lot of different ledgers on there that say, I can do that shit all day long.
Well, I'd say the majority of the people in government need a budgeting lesson, and not just like we don't have a lot of people's budget problems. It's not an income problem.
No,
the government does not have an income problem.
It's an outgo.
They have
problem.
an outgo problem, and
and
that's what most people with budget problems have.
Yes,
and it needs to be sat down and done a thorough review of everything.
True.
The problem is, the people that would need to allow that to happen are in charge and will never allow that to happen. So let's get back to trying to make weed legal. And if you're going to take 15%, okay, I can't fight you on that shit. I don't know what you're going to do with it, even though you say it's going to be
bottom
this.
line.
Bottom line,
Yep.
let's make it legal so that I'll pay $15 more on a $100 purchase.
Again, that's the frustrating. What it ultimately comes down to is this is some sort of business deal. And the government.
Well, it is, and I'm going to tell you this: it's a business deal that's not even going to fucking pass. So it's all a moot point, really.
Which is insane. Because 80% of the constituency wants this business deal to pass. In fact, it wants it not to be a business deal; wants it to be a public service deal, so that the public has access to what they should have access to, and the government shouldn't take it away. Period, flat out. And when they do, well, I don't know. There's some constitutional things that kind of stop that from happening, I think. I don't know. but we'll go down a different road. So what else do you have on your points? Do you have some other great points? Sima, do you have anything great
I
points?
have a different subject.
The only other points I have is that it would expunge past offenses, which
Should.
I appreciate.
Yeah.
And it does allow for local opt-outs. So just like in the state of Tennessee, there still dry counties? I feel like there are.
Yeah.
There's still dry counties there where they don't serve alcohol. They choose to not allow alcohol allowed to be sold in their county.
Which is
Counties
insane.
will have that opt-out option with this bill for marijuana as well.
Interesting.
So it's going to be on counties, basically.
Yeah, which I'm okay with as well because, you know, you might have a super conservative little pocket of backwoods Tennessee that doesn't want marijuana legal, and so they make
I
it
would be willing to
illegal in
bet
their
there's
county.
small backwoods people are smoking weed because they're growing it in their backyard.
I
their
mean, and you
backwoods.
might, but you
I
also
mean,
might have like a conservative Christian sect in Tennessee. You know, we are the buckle of the Bible Belt here. So, I mean, I think it's
I think that
okay.
buckle came off.
I think it's okay to have counties choose because you can move to the next county or drive to the next county, you know.
That's
Well,
right.
and so at which point then do you take it state, city, county? I mean, at what level do you start to like going, hey, look.
Well,
I'm at-
typically things are county wise. I mean, they're state,
gets
but
to
a
be-
lot
yeah.
of times it allows for counties to opt out. I believe Colorado did the same thing when they first allowed recreational cannabis. They allowed for opt outs.
Interesting. And-
Because a town that I lived in, I believe, did not allow dispensaries at first, and then they did.
Really?
Yeah.
Hmm.
So
All right.
they start seeing the money and wanted to allow it to come in.
Money talks.
Yeah,
Money
all the
talks.
time.
Very loud, too.
15% on all the weed smokers out there.
What about?
I'm just thinking in my head. I was talking a lot while you were ready to say something. Go for it.
No, I'm just going to change the subject.
Well, we're changing the subject.
If you're done with Bill, yeah, I want to talk about effect of cannabis on driving a little bit.
Okay. We'll go from
'Cause I know we actually, all three of us kind of disagree on this subject.
since we were talking pot for potholes, and I hit potholes all the time in my
I
Jeep,
know, right?
and they're everywhere. But we'll talk and kind of move from pot for potholes into can you drive while on cannabis?
Is there DUI on cannabis?
There is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
DWI.
How do
Driving while
How do
intoxicated.
they find out?
Well, I don't know. They
Well,
just they
so
make
that's
they
the
make it
hard,
up.
Well, that's the hard thing with cannabis because
You can't blood alcohol.
you
test it.
can't. If you do a blood test, it could be in your system, and you might not actively
Yeah.
be smoking marijuana. So I know some states do field sobriety tests the same
is
way
that?
they do like out. You know how like if you get pulled over.
Can you touch your toes? Can you
Oh.
walk
Yeah,
backwards?
like
Can you spell?
walk, like
Yeah,
spit,
yeah,
and
yeah.
so a type of field sobriety test, which I also think is
BS,
bogus
yeah.
because as a nurse, like cannabis doesn't necessarily make you uncoordinated in the sense that alcohol does. I feel like you could pass a field sobriety test
Oh,
and
I
be
totally
high
can.
on
For sure.
cannabis, and I also feel like you could fail a field sobriety test and be completely sober if you're just not coordinated.
That's true.
You know, like if you don't. I don't know.
I mean,
But
Sima is very,
isn't
very
that-
coordinated.
But
However,
isn't
she
that what
broke
you
her wrist.
just said is a good reason that person who is high can actually drive? Like what you just said that
No,
you
because
believe that you can go.
no, I think your reaction time is slowed when you're on.
Do you think it's always that way? Do you think it's always slowed, or at a certain point it can go up and slow down? Can
I think your physical reaction time, like someone throws a ball at you, you got to catch. It's slowed down. I mean, it is. It's slowed down when you use cannabis. It's been shown in studies that it's slowed. Your reaction is slowed down, and so
But you
that's
still catch it. So your
not
reaction is
necessarily. It might hit you because your
mean-
reaction is slowed, and then you put your hand up. That's why I'm saying your reaction time is slowed down.
I think
I
that-
think you still catch it. You feel like your reaction time. It's just your feeling, but in reality, it's not.
I'm gonna say it like this. I think there is a sliding scale of how that works individual to individual, and how much you have in your system is the effect of how that scale slides, or how slow or how your reaction
Well, and
time is. Because
also
I feel
what
like sometimes
type of cannabinoids you
yeah,
had in
exactly.
your
What
system.
kind of
Like I mean,
weed
that's
you be
a
smoking?
it's a whole web of well, yes, if and but. Like it's a lot of.
Well, there's a scale
I'm
to it. There's
simply
not
talking THC, psychoactive, high, and driving. Does that make sense? What I'm talking?
Totally. Like I smoke a THC dab that turns in Delta 9 THC and hit that dab, or like smoking a joint and then being able to operate machinery. Some people can, some people can't. I don't know. Me personally, I find that I actually drive better.
I agree. I am way more cautious when I am high and driving.
And I think the reaction time, I think your brain, depending on how much cannabis you smoke and what type of cannabis you smoke, your brain can actually function a lot faster because the
Where
your
the
speed is-
fuck are you getting that from?
Here's
What
why.
study are you?
I'll tell you
like
why.
what? No.
I'll tell you why. Here's why. Like
Just like you said, it depends on what kind of strain you are having too.
my martial arts teacher always taught me that slow is smooth and then smooth is fast. If you can get to a point where your movements are like liquid, you can turn up the speed very quickly. And I've watched people who have used cannabis and they can turn that speed up because they have learned how their brain functions while on cannabis. Now, not everybody can do that, but there are people that can. They can perform higher. They can get better reaction time to a lot of different things because they're way more focused on that thing. Now, put me in a car after smoking cannabis and having the right cannabis. I'm going to be not distracted by the outside things. I'm going to be focused on what I'm doing. And my reaction time to, say, like I jump in these little carts and I hit the dab and I block off the parking lot and run laps around my building. At first, when my brain is working on the focus pattern, it may seem slower, but it's not. It's because I'm taking the time. My brain is figuring it out. And then after one or two times, you're locked in. Your brain is focused and you're doing your thing. The distractions are gone.
Well, I want to share with y'all some studies that I've seen. I can't talk today. An analysis of 5
Big words.
states. There was an increase of 5.8% in injury crash rates. It was Colorado, Washington, Oregon, California, and Nevada.
Sure.
So in a combination of all of these, there was an increase in injury crashes by 5.8%, and an increase
due to marijuana?
in fatal crashes of 4.1% after both legalization and the onset of retail sales. However, when you take the states one by one, there's a difference in that Colorado actually saw a 17.8 increase in crashes, and Nevada experienced a 6.7 decrease. And here's my theory with that. So Nevada and Colorado were in the 2 of the 5 states that were included in the 5.8 increase. But I think that Colorado had this huge, I don't know why Colorado had this huge increase after legalization, but it did, 17.8%. I think Nevada experienced a 6.7 decrease because you had more people maybe driving high, but you had more people getting high and less people drinking alcohol, so you had less people driving drunk. So I think driving drunk, you're more likely to crash. I don't want to say more quickly, but more quickly. I don't know how to phrase that. But I think there's a greater chance of a crash if you're driving under the influence of alcohol than under the influence of marijuana. However, there has still been an increase in crash reports in the states that have made it legal recreationally.
But we don't know that's the reason, though.
Well, there's a lot of factors to play into that, for sure.
So it's
just saying,
sure.
the true
marijuana is
number out
responsible
there
for
on that.
5.8% increases.
No, it doesn't say that marijuana.
I know, but that's what some people
It's
would
a
take.
correlation for sure.
Yeah.
So I don't think if there's any type of chance when you're operating something that can kill you, can kill others, why take that chance?
Well, you're right. Why take that chance? And I don't disagree with why take that chance. However, when you're an adult, then the same could be said for several things, in my opinion. Sugar, caffeine, tobacco. There are several of those things that do alter your ability to function and can do it in a great way. Now, some people can't function without their caffeine in the morning. Some people can't function without their cigarettes. I've smoked cigarettes and I've had caffeine, and
It
I know that
also
smoking,
doesn't affect your reaction time in driving and operating heavy machinery.
Smoking cigarettes, like when I smoke a cigarette, after that cigarette for a certain amount of time, I feel much more lightheaded and
That's
out
because
of
you're not a
balance.
cigarette smoker, though. Like typically,
I understand, but that's the purpose of the cigarette smoker, is to get to that lightheaded high feeling. That's why they continually smoke cigarettes.
but they don't feel like once you become a cigarette smoker and you like have that nicotine, you don't necessarily get high.
You
from
don't.
It. It's an addictive.
Sure.
You need your
Right.
body craves it
Right.
and needs it and wants
Right.
it, but you're not like dizzy, high,
However, those people
not able to
however, those-
operate machinery. Who's walking by? Sorry.
However, those people who smoke cigarettes in the car while they're driving are doing that to calm down and relax, and maybe should they be operating machinery, having that kind of thing that if they didn't have it would make them feel stressed out, or they did have it and it gives them the high
But
feeling.
it doesn't affect you psychoactively in the way that THC does. It doesn't. It doesn't.
That's determined by how much THC you're using too, and how much CBD.
Right. And that's why when we started this, I was like, I'm specifically speaking to smoking THC, getting psychoactively high and then driving. I'm not speaking to CBD. I'm not speaking to regulating your ECS. I'm speaking to physically being
how do you
high.
determine being high? Because what I smoke in a day doesn't really necessarily get me high. It gets me to a point where I feel healthy, balanced.
You're right. And people are
relaxed,
always,
calm.
everybody is different and everyone's system is different. But I don't know. She doesn't know. Nobody knows except for you, because high is also, just like pain, is very subjective. Only you know if you are
Too high to drive.
psychoactively high or not.
Right.
And you can't say if you're too high to drive or not, because
Sure.
people say, I'm just buzzed. I'm totally fine to drive with alcohol. And they're not fine to drive.
I'm going to share with you my actual study, okay? In my own store. I have customers that come in day after day after day and use the dab bar. I have lots of them, and they react differently. In my experience with my dab bar customers who come in and smoke THCA dabs, there are several of them that have a tolerance level and understanding, a reality to smoking dabs. They come in, they hit a dab, they go out, they go do their job, they go do their stuff. They're totally okay. Others, they smoke dabs. And like last night, a couple came in, sat here, smoked a medium dab together. They shared it. And then for an hour, sat right over here in the chairs and hung out because they were too high to drive. And then when we closed, because they weren't still ready to drive, they sat out front for another 15, 20 minutes playing with their dog. People, when you get high, don't do the stupid shit that you do when you're on alcohol. Your body tells you.
Yes and no. I agree with that. I feel like you have way more responsible marijuana users than alcohol
Absolutely.
users. 1,000% from the beginning of time. But you still have people that aren't necessarily mature. Their frontal lobe hasn't developed. I don't know what the fuck it is,
Well,
but
yeah,
they will
they're
still choose to drive when they
teenagers.
should not drive. I mean, even adults when they should not drive. And so that's why I think it's dangerous for people, for y'all to say, because y'all
we have
know
a very-
how you handle marijuana. Y'all are very responsible. You know how to that's why I think it's dangerous to say it's fine to drive when you're high, because it's not for a lot of people.
I need to determine what the
I don't know
high-
where you get in your research. My research says increase following distance when you are high.
Yeah,
So you-
because you have long,
Yeah,
you
so
have
that
because you have a
saves you.
slower reaction time. So you
you're
want
being
to.
safe.
Decrease risk taking.
That's
You
what
you don't maneuver like when you're in. It decreases your. You
It doesn't do any of that for
You
me.
become safe driver.
It doesn't do any of that for me.
It's more reduced the speed. That's right. The speed, we don't go like with 60, 70 on 40. We normally get in with 35.
You get pulled over because you're going too slow, or like you said, what did you say about this?
I stop in the stop sign,
You were waiting for the stop sign to turn green.
turn green. Yeah.
I mean,
but
that's,
it,
that's the
but
worst.
it doesn't
That's the worst
create
end of the
problem though
high.
for you.
That's the
You don't
worst
get
end
an
of the high.
accident. The worst thing you get is somebody's gonna honk on you to go.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
that
the worst.
well, you
the
hope,
worst
because
thing.
what if you're sitting at a green light thinking it's red, and someone behind isn't looking at you because they're distracted on their phone, or maybe they're high,
And then
or
there's
maybe
so
nothing.
many of all
But-
different
but they're-
levels.
they're
You just
only-
killed the
Come on.
conversation with the fact of being on their phone. I mean, that's totally. I mean, I'd
Darling,
rather have a high
if
person
we
might be
go
like,
on this route, there's thousands
But if they're looking at the
everything.
green light and not that you're stopped, and then you get rear-ended, you cannot tell me it's
I'm not trying
safe to
I'm just
smoke
saying
and
my
drive.
research says this.
I'm not trying to convince anybody, and if you're high, you shouldn't drive because you shouldn't operate a vehicle if you're not able to. But however,
Right.
And I think at the end of the day, it comes to
however-
be how responsible are you? How
yes.
well do you know your
How-
body?
However, here's what I'd like to say to that. The definition of being high is so elusive because, hey, Dustin, you remember you had a dab the other day? How did that dab react for you? What did you do? I want to know Dustin's response.
I hung out and got creative on my computer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you get in your car and drive, or did
Not
you
immediately, but I did after a little bit.
after you felt like you were okay? Because what did that dab do for you? Did that dab set you in a spot where you're like, okay,
And I feel
you know what? I feel stoned, I feel good, but I just do not feel like I should operate a vehicle.
Not
right?
necessarily. I think I could have.
But
Focus.
you chose not
Give
to.
us
Chose not
focused.
to, yeah.
Right. If you were here and I was serving alcohol and you had a shot that hit you the same way, the likelihood of you to want to go get in your car is far more likely than if you were on cannabis. And because of that fact of how cannabis does work with people and what the definition of high is, because I don't feel like I'm high all day long. However, I use a whole lot more cannabis product than most people do during a day. I could smoke a dab with Dustin, and Dustin would probably want to sit down and relax. And I'd be like, all right, let's go ahead and do whatever. That window, that range, is something that the government doesn't have a right to determine a point where somebody is high or not. But what happens with cannabis is exactly what happens with Dustin. Every one of my customers that walks through the door, that I have them sign a waiver because I want to make sure that they're adult and they have a driver's license and they're being responsible, does exactly that. They have a dab, and if they're experienced with it, know it and understand it, and it doesn't hit them to the point where they don't feel like they can drive, they go do whatever they're going to go do. And they don't do anything differently or odd or bad, and I've never had somebody come back in here say, I just got in an accident. Or if they do, like got to Dustin's level, they get too high, they come, or that couple last night, they sit, and there's a lounge, they hang out, they wait, and they feel to that spot where they're not high, they're balanced, they're elevated to the level where they feel good, and then they engage with their life, which is adult responsibility. And as an adult, we should have that ability, and the state or government should not control that. That's the fact of the matter for me when it comes to driving high.
Well, there's really no way for the government to control that because
Yeah.
there's no way to test if you're actively high right then. You're going to test positive with a blood test
Right.
for 2 months.
Which legally doesn't have any, I mean, you can't determine it on a blood test.
Yeah.
Maybe with alcohol you probably can, but
Oh, you absolutely can with the alcohol, with a blood test. But with cannabis, like I said, you could test positive and you haven't smoked for a week. So
True.
there's no
Right.
no telling with that. But I do think at the end of the day, yes, there are, you do take less risks with cannabis than you do alcohol. You're more likely to jump in a car after you've been drinking and drive than you are with cannabis. But I still, till the day I die, will say it slows your reaction time when you're actively psychoactive high, and you it's just not safe.
Can I ask a dumb question? What do you think it would be like if immediately, right now, today, if we could flip-flop our social existence? And what I mean by that is here we have downtown or wherever you are, bars, a line of bars up and down Broadway, okay? And all of those bars, instead of being alcohol bars, were cannabis bars and had cannabis stuff in them. And the people there using cannabis product rather than alcohol product. And there were maybe a few, like we have a cannabis shop here, maybe a few places where alcohol was sporadically throughout our city, but not like alcohol. If we had flip-flop like that, what do you think our society would be like? Do you think it would be a much better society, even though people would smoke and have their cannabis drinks? Do you think they would, have the accidents would go down? Do you think the fighting would go down? Do you think the incarceration would go down? Do you think the, all the whatever that are problem, hospitalizations, do you think that would go down if we were able to completely flip the switch like that? Not remove it, but just change the dynamic. Alcohol is not as big as cannabis is in that space, and alcohol is in the space that
I
cannabis.
think absolutely.
What would it do to our society?
It will be like Amsterdam, probably.
It'd be like Amsterdam, huh?
I don't want that shit. I feel like that's a lot of hard drugs.
Everybody.
That's hard drugs, though.
Yeah, I didn't want the hard. I just wanted to switch the alcohol.
You're not switching alcohol for drugs. You're switching alcohol for weed.
Yeah, I just take all of the alcohol
Yeah,
establishments.
it's a totally different.
And you turn
world
all
at that
and you
point.
take the alcohol out and put cannabis in its place. What does that do to our society?
Calms it the fuck down.
And that would be a bad thing. How?
Oh, it wouldn't be, but that's never going to happen. So,
That's right.
And my brain
pipe
explodes.
dream.
Yeah. On that note, maybe it's time to go hit the pipe. Everybody have a great Monday. I appreciate y'all. Take care.
I ain't seen a beat like that since somebody stuck a banana in my pants and turned the monkey loose.